Hi, everyone. Welcome. So my name is Erin. My pronouns are she, her, and I'd like to start off today by acknowledging that the land that UBC has built its Vancouver campus on, which we work, learn, connect, and innovate, is the unceded ancestral and traditional territory of the Musqueam peoples. I'd also like to acknowledge that the traditional owners and caretakers of the lands that you're joining us from today. So first of all, thank you all so much for applying to UBC Engineering. We have so many things packed into our 1 hour today that I hope will give you a better insight into our programs, into the student life, into your next steps as well. So we have a presentation that will share a little bit more about some specific details, cover some of those questions that you submitted when you registered for this event. We have some current students here that will be able to share their experiences with you throughout the presentation. We have a short student panel. And then at the end of the event, we'll head into some smaller breakout rooms so that you can have some kind of smaller one-on-one questions with our current students. So to get us started today, I'd like to welcome one of our amazing professors, Dr. Gabriel Potvin. Gabriel is an associate professor of teaching in the Department of Chemical and Biological Engineering. He's won several teaching awards, including the UBC Killam Teaching Award in 21, which is a prize awarded annually to faculty and is nominated by students, colleagues, and alumni in recognition of excellence in teaching. He also recently won the Chemical and Biological Engineering Lifetime Teaching Award for teaching. So he is an amazing teacher, and he is a professor that you may likely come across throughout your time at UBC Engineering. So welcome, Gabriel, and thank you for joining us today. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Erin, and hello, everyone. I kind of wish introductions didn't mention those things. It would keep the pressure lower to be a good speaker here. But good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in the world. So my name is Gabriel. I'm a faculty member here at UBC. I'm very happy to be here to talk to all of you. And I guess the first thing is congratulations on applying to engineering at UBC. I'm sure you know all of this, and I'm sure they're going to present some of these numbers, but UBC is one of the best universities in the world, specifically for engineering. Recently, we were named the top engineering school in Canada, for example. So it's really a great place to come and learn. Of course, I'm biased, but I'm not the one who came up with those numbers. So congrats to everyone. It's the first step to joining us here. I know not everyone has heard back from the school yet, but I'm sure you will in the near future. So in the meantime, I'm very happy to see so many of you here, in part because I'm a firm believer that the world needs more engineers, right? So what we do in engineering is we learn how the universe behaves. The universe around it is made out of matter and energy. And in engineering, regardless of which discipline you're in engineering, we spend a lot of time learning how the universe behaves, how matter and energy behave. And then we use that knowledge to bend the universe to our will, right? So to design those applications, to make the universe do things it doesn't want to do naturally. And we do so for all sorts of purposes. So when you come here for a degree in engineering, you're going to be equipped with all sorts of valuable skills that are going to let you to problem solve, to troubleshoot. You're going to have critical thinking and teamwork skills that are going to allow you to contribute to solving some of the world's greatest challenges, to come up with the next big application, the next big invention that's going to change how the world runs. And it starts with a degree in engineering. So one of the great things about specifically UBC Engineering is your first year is common, right? You get here, you get the basics of math and science and engineering design. And after the first year, you get to choose which specialize you go in. So during that first year, you'll have a chance to really learn what each discipline does and where they apply those technical skills. And that's something that's special. When I started my undergraduate degree, I'll let you guess how long ago that was. But we just applied directly. I didn't really have a sense. So I'm in chemical engineering. I didn't really have a sense for what chemical engineering was. So I was lucky because I love my discipline, but I really didn't have that clear sense, right? So doing that first year is going to allow you to decide kind of where to go. So while you're here, you'll talk to some students about their experience. But while you're here, you're going to spend some time in lectures, working with professors. We're going to have problem solving sessions. You're going to work with top of the line workshops and labs. I'm in my office right now on campus because I am actually teaching a lab course right after this with students. And you really get to get hands-on experience to go with that world-class kind of theoretical content that you cover in class, so that when you graduate, you're good to go. You're good to join industry, to join governments, to join NGOs, to join anything you want, or create your own startup for that matter, because you have those skills that combine, knowledge of how the universe works as well as hands-on skills. So why UBC? So UBC, I've worked with a few universities. UBC's is the absolute best for the student experience, and that's really what's going to kind of matter for students coming in. The best part of my job is to work with students in class. Like, we work with all sorts of kind of projects and content, but also in things like our undergrad design team. So I'm sure the students will talk to you about this, but our design teams are the best of this. We have the best students here. They work on these teams to tackle these complex challenges. They go to competitions, they present or they compete at the local, national, international level. They bring home prizes all the time. And all of this is supported by faculty members, by the departments, by the university. So it's a really great place to come. The university has a culture here, especially in applied science. The Faculty of Applied Science really has a culture of really trying to support students. When students come up and say, I would really like to do this type of project, I don't know where to start, the answer is usually, cool, let's see if we can figure it out. Let's see if we can make this happen. And that's something that does not exist at every university, and that makes UBC very special, right? So it's a place where you get to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And like I said, it's the best part of my job to kind of do these things and to work with students and help them accomplish this. You get to work with fantastic faculty members. So, not me, despite all these awards, I'm not great, but all the other professors are really, really good. And so you'll get to meet people from all around the world, work with people from all sorts of disciplines. And so it's a really great place to work. And so with that, I kind of gave you a quick kind of intro to UBC and what you'll do here. I'm happy to answer questions, to talk about anything that you're particularly interested in. As a professor, I like to talk, so if no one has any questions, I'm just going to keep going, but I'd like to hear what you think or what you have questions about.
Yes, and please use the chat to ask any questions that you may have. You can type them in the chat. We will have time later for more questions about our current students that I'll be introducing soon. But if you have any questions for Gabriel, please use the chat to ask them now. Now, Gabriel, I have a question for you. I know that you kind of mentioned a little bit some of our design teams, and I know that you work quite closely with some of them. Do you want to share a little bit more about what that looks like and kind of the advising that you provide for them and how closely they get to work with you?
Yeah, so these teams, so like I said, these are teams that tackle specific challenges, right? We use engineering skills. It is interdisciplinary. We have people from all engineering disciplines working on this. I work with a few of them. So for example, I worked with this one called Green Jewel. So this is a biotech kind of team. And so what they're doing, they're growing algae. So microscopic algae, like if you have a fish tank at home and you don't clean it, that kind of green slime that builds up. So they are using this to make oil that we can convert to biofuels, right? Carbon neutral fuel. So I have them working in the lab on those kinds of projects. Last summer, I helped we have the UBC rocket team, which is a fantastic team. They build these giant rockets. They go to international competitions to kind of shoot stuff up. I was helping them because my background is in biotechnology. I was helping them develop a microbial fuel cell. So this is a kind of device where we use bacteria to produce power, to produce electrical current. And so they were designing and building this, and they actually got to test it on a zero-G flight. You know, they got some money to go and test it to see the effect of gravity on the production of kind of power there. I work with a team that is extracting compounds from everyday kind of spices, right? So they're extracting some compounds from cinnamon, for example, and those compounds are used to help treat diabetes, right? For those people that are a bit resistant to kind of insulin. So there's medical applications there. So yeah, I work with a bunch of different teams, and they do all sorts of interesting stuff. And really, my role is to give them technical advice when we can. It's really the students' program. project. So my job is also to help create those opportunities, right? To help them find money, to help them find lab space, and to really kind of pursue the project they're passionate about. And so that's why it's so much fun, you know, and when they go and they present their work on international kind of conferences, or they come back with big competitions, that's really exciting.
Awesome. There's a few questions that did come into the chat. So one of them is, do you have any specific advice for prospective engineering students that are just starting to join the fields of engineering now?
That's an excellent question. That's a dangerous question to ask a professor because we have very long answers, but in a nutshell. So my best advice to students when they come is take advantage of the opportunity, right? I told you we have professors that are there to help you. You're going to have students from all over the world. You're all the best of the best, which is why you're applying to UBC. And it's really an opportunity to go for it, to go and do these kind of problems. You know, a lot of students, they come in and they say, oh, after I graduate, I'm going to get to real life. But your undergrad degree, this is real life. These is opportunities to work on these things. And so coming in and going to your classes, then going back home and not talking to anyone and just studying, you know, that's good. You're gonna learn a lot of stuff, but you're gonna miss out on those opportunities to really do real engineering. So when you come here, take it as an opportunity. It's okay not to want to socialize all the time or to work on these big projects, but there are opportunities here for whatever you like, and so try to seize those.
Perfect, thanks. I do see a few questions that I know we're going to cover in the presentation today. So we're going to talk about co-op and things like that. So I'm not going to focus on those right now. I don't wonder if you can tell us anything about getting undergraduate students getting involved in research. So obviously design teams are a way to get involved in research. Is there anything else that you could add to that experience?
Yeah, so absolutely. So like all research universities, our faculty members have research programs, right? So they have research labs where you can go and get some experience. So UBC actually has a great culture of really trying to give opportunities to undergraduate students, not just graduate students, right? So you're coming in as an undergraduate student, and if you want to continue, there's a master's or PhD degree that do a lot of research. But as undergraduate students, labs do hire a lot of them. So it's a great chance to go and really participate in cutting edge research in whatever you're interested in. So just looking at the chat real quick, someone was interested in green energy. We have lots of professors that are working in green energy across all disciplines. This is not a chemical engineering or electrical engineering or materials engineering problem. This is an engineering problem that requires contributions from everyone. So we have students from one department go work in labs in another, and everyone works together. But there's really some great opportunities to participate in this. And I have some students, they get publications in peer-reviewed top journals because they work in these labs and they can contribute here. So there really are opportunities. I can't guarantee you a spot in a particular lab. You'll have to see when you kind of get here, but there's lots of labs, lots of opportunities to get involved. So it's a really exciting opportunity.
Perfect. Thanks so much. So I think a lot of the other questions we're going to answer throughout the presentation, so I'll leave those for now. But thank you so much for joining us this morning, Gabriel. I know you have to run off to your lab that you're teaching today, but we really appreciate you being here today. And thanks for joining.
Thanks a lot, Erin, and good luck to everyone. I hope to see some of you in person here at UBC in the future. And if you do, feel free to drop by my office and say hello. I'm always happy to talk to students. So with that, enjoy the rest of your session and the rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you. All right, everyone. I have some current students here with me today that are part of our panel. So I'm going to give them a second to turn on their cameras while I start to share my screen. All right. So you got to hear a little bit about the perspective of one of our professors this morning already. Now we're going to jump into our presentation so you can hear more about the student experience, your next steps, and some of those opportunities available to you. So we'll mention co-op, we'll mention a little bit more about research, we'll mention a little bit more about choosing your engineering discipline. So we'll jump into the presentation right now. And to start off with, I'll get my panelists to introduce themselves so they can tell us a little bit more about themselves, and then they'll pop in throughout the presentation to share some more about their experiences. So lovely, and do you want to get started?
Yeah. Hi everyone. I hope you're having a good morning. I'm Loveleen. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a second year manufacturing engineering student at UBC. And I'm really excited to be here and share my experience today.
Awesome, Janvi.
Hi everyone, my name is Janvi. I'm a second year civil engineering student here at UBC, and I'm excited to join you guys and answer all your questions you have about student experiences.
And Mayank.
Hey, congratulations. Firstly, this is a big step. So good job. You should savor that moment. It's fun. And I'm Mayank. I'm a third year integrated engineering student and the current VP academic of the Engineering Undergraduate Society, which is the student council for all of engineering students. Let me know if you have any questions about getting involved or anything else related to my program.
Perfect. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. And as I mentioned, they will jump into the presentation to kind of share some of their experiences. So UBC is the most international university in North America. It's one of the top 40 schools in the world and a top school in Canada. UBC Engineering specifically was ranked as the top engineering program in Canada this year. And we're focused on continuing to improve our programs, our curriculum, our students, and the world around us. So why should you choose UBC Engineering? Well, there's simply so much available to you. From the very start of your degree, you'll be exposed to hands-on design projects where you work in teams with other first-year students. You'll also have courses year after year that continue to build on those project-based team learning experiences, culminating in your final year with your capstone design project, where you and your peers work with industry partners to solve real-life problems. Many of our students even secure job offers from the capstone projects that they work on. So Loveleen, I'll get you to jump in here. Can you share what your favorite project has been in any of your courses so far?
Yeah, sure. I think so far my favorite project has been this project I did in one of my applied science classes. So there's this course that you take in first year called AppSci 100. So the project, it was called the cardboard chair project, and it was very related to, as the name suggests, making a chair that could support a considerable amount of load from cardboard. And I think just the simplicity, it was just so interesting to me. And it was my first project here at UBC. And I just think I was able to learn and grow so much, be it from the people I was working with, because I was working with a very different group of people, and or be it just technical skills that I got while doing this project. And I really enjoyed it. And I think this just has a lot to do with how much hands-on experience that UBC Engineering just provides for its students. And I think that's really great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So later on in your degree, you can also customize your studies by choosing to pursue a minor or a dual degree. This is not a requirement, but it will allow you to have a secondary focus if you're interested. We also have options like aerospace, mechatronics, thermofluids, or biomechanics and medical devices in mechanical engineering. We also have the biomedical option within electrical engineering. So I know there were some questions about this. We're going to talk a little bit more about programs specifically in a second, but there are just tons of ways to further customize your engineering degree at UBC. So in addition to your academics, there's also lots of really cool things to look forward to. You can be paid to work in a research lab, you can start your own research project, and even present it in our multidisciplinary undergraduate research conference that takes place across UBC every year, featuring thousands of student research projects. However, if research isn't your thing, there are lots of other ways to get involved. You can explore your interests and find your community at such a big university like UBC through any of our clubs. On our campus, we have more than 400 campus-wide clubs. We also have over 30 design teams available at the Vancouver campus that allow you to work in teams, explore your interests, gain hands-on experience right from the very first year. Now, I know that there were some questions already about design teams. There's usually an application process through the team itself, but there's not typically a minimum GPA required. There's lots of different types of positions within a team. There's going to be lots of sub-teams within each team. So you can get involved in a lot of different kind of opportunities as part of a design team. In the design teams, I see that there's a question about, can you start your own research teams? So within a design team, a lot of teams have different projects happening. So that may be one way to do that. I know Gabriel mentioned our biomedical engineering student team that's extracting things from cinnamon in order to help treat diabetes. So that's just one of many projects that that team is working on. And so that might be a way to get involved in your own sort of ideas that you have of finding a team that kind of fits that and working towards that. Some of our teams will be very competition focused, like the rocket team that Gabriel mentioned. So they're very focused on anything to do with rockets, essentially, right? So you wouldn't necessarily be able to do anything in that field. Some of them are a little bit more research focused. So it just depends on what your interests are. But the first few days of classes, you'll see all of the design teams out on our main mall. You'll be able to go and talk to all of them, ask them questions, find out about what it takes to be a part of their team, and that will help you learn way more. All of the current students at UBC that I work with always tell me that their favorite part of UBC Engineering is the amazing community that you get to be a part of. Right from the time you enter UBC Engineering, you'll have support systems like our first year orientations to have the opportunity to get involved with so many different clubs, which is a great way to connect with your peers. Beyond design teams and the Engineering Undergraduate Society, we also have our Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Indigeneity clubs, which are student-led groups that you can get involved in if you're part of an underrepresented community within engineering. At UBC, we're working to ensure that we gain more diversity within engineering. And this is important because increasing underrepresented populations in engineering make our teams more diverse. More diverse teams mean our students are better able to solve problems for the entire population, not just a fraction of it. So Janvi, if you can tell me, what has been your favorite club or team to get involved with so far in your degree?
Thank you for the question, Erin. So far, I'm a part of Women in Engineering and the Canadian Society for Civil Engineers. And for me, I think I really like working with the team, and I like planning events for all of them and just have a community, a sense of community, which is very supportive and encouraging. Yeah, I think those are the two favorite clubs that I'm really excited to work with every week when I have my team meetings with them.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so now that you've had a super quick overview or maybe a quick reminder of why you even applied to UBC Engineering, let's focus a little bit on your next steps. So the first thing I want to mention is do be sure to submit your documents by the deadline. You may be able to upload your unofficial documents directly to the SSC or the Student Service Center, while final results will typically need to be sent to UBC directly from the issuing institution. Be sure to refer to the email that you received from UBC for further instructions. You can also check your SSC for any outstanding documents. I do want to mention one deadline coming up that may apply to many of you. So February 15th is a deadline to receive your English language competency requirements. So make sure that those are sent in if you haven't already. There are about 9 different ways to meet that, and you can find that all on the website. Again, if it's a requirement for you, you should have received an email about ways to meet that and where to submit that. Once your documents are uploaded, our admissions team will be able to assess your file. So for most students, offers will go out in late March or early April, so there is a bit of time to wait. If you do get an offer of admission, then make sure to accept it by the deadline in your offer letter. And again, that offer letter will be available on the Student Service Center. For most students, the deadline to accept your offer is May 1st. When you accept your offer of admission, you'll need to pay the acceptance deposit of $1,000, and then your deposit is non-refundable, but it will be applied to your first term tuition fees once you register for courses. Make sure that you do apply for your study permit as soon as possible. It can take a lot of time for that to be processed and approved, and everything that you'll need to apply for your study permit will be attached to your offer letter. So you'll get a letter that you're able to use for applying for your study permit. So make sure you do that as soon as possible. If you're planning to live on campus in first year, make sure to also apply to residence by May 1st. For first year students, you'll be placed into one of our 3 residences, and that will also provide a meal plan as part of your fee. So you can eat in many places throughout campus. There are some main dining halls as well that you can eat at. You also have what's called flex dollars that you can use at different places around campus, like at Starbucks or any of those kind of fast food places that you might be familiar with. Can you please share a little bit more about any of your experiences living in residence, what that was like, what you enjoyed about it?
For sure, yeah. I lived in residence for starting from my 2nd year and continuing to now, which is my 3rd year. It's a lot of fun. You'll be placed into first year residence as soon as you come to UBC, which is where every first year is in the same 3 buildings as you. And you keep seeing the same faces again and again and again. And you see those faces in classes and you're like, oh, hey, I know you. And you just start making friends. One of the best stories I like to tell is that someone told me is the 2 people were sitting right next to each other and they're like, and noticed both of them were really sleepy in class, said, you want to get coffee? And they're like best of friends now. So that happens anywhere. And like you recognize people just because you saw them roaming around in your hallways. Great community. You get to do a lot of stuff because you're on campus. You can stay like in classes till late. You can attend events that run later in the night. You can just explore campus at night, which is a really fun time. So yeah, let me know if you have any specific questions about it, but I think I'm gonna stop there.
Perfect, thanks so much. All right, so next thing, I know that there are some questions popping up in the chat about this as well. We're going to focus a little bit more on your finances. So the best way to determine how much your first year will cost is to use our cost calculator online. It allows you to indicate all that applies to you to help you determine what your fees will look like. And you can expect each year of your degree to cost roughly the same in the amount of tuition that you're paying. It does increase by a couple of % every year, but this cost calculator will give you a good estimation of what that cost will be for you. UBC also offers some great financial support for students, and so you can check out our resources online for more information about that. I also recommend that students apply for scholarships if you're able to. So many of our scholarships for international students will have automatic consideration. So you've already applied to UBC, you'll already automatically be considered for those. But I do encourage you to seek out external scholarships that may be available to you. Once you get to UBC, there's also a few scholarships that you can apply to as a continuing student as well. So just to elaborate a little bit on what I mean by external scholarships. So there are lots of companies around the world that will provide scholarships for students, especially students pursuing engineering. So be sure to do some searches online, check that out. There are lots of scholarships, especially for women in engineering, women in STEM, women in tech. So that's something to kind of consider if you are a woman entering engineering. But use some search terms like STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. There's a lot of scholarships these days for that. And there's a link on the screen, educanada.ca, that does list some resources for specifically international students to study in Canada. Some other ways to fund your degree is also through something like our Work Learn program. It allows you to gain paid professional work experience. You work up to 10 hours per week while you're in courses. And as I've already mentioned, there's the opportunity for paid research in the lab through research awards. So if you are getting involved in research, you could be paid to do that. Before we move on to talking a little bit more about co-op, Loveleen, can you share more about what your Work Learn experience has been like so far, and anything else you'd recommend to students about financing their studies?
Yeah, I think one of the ways that has really helped me finance my degree has been getting this work loan position. So for everyone, I work as the digital media strategist for an Instagram channel called Engineering Stories, and it showcases a lot about UBC engineering. So I think working as the digital media strategist has not only like given me a lot of paid professional work experience, but has also helped me contribute as much as I can towards financing my degree, because obviously as international students we need to be really on top of all of our expenses. And I also remember applying to a lot of work loan positions last year, so I think that's a great opportunity to help like finance your degree.
Awesome, thank you. So we do have the second largest co-op program in Canada. It is an optional program, so it's not something that you're required to do, but it does allow you to gain paid work experience relevant to your engineering degree. It will add a year to your degree, but you'll complete up to 20 months of work in positions available across Canada or even around the world. So it will extend your degree, but you are getting paid quite well during these work terms. You do need to pay a fee, but that fee is the same whether you are an international student or domestic student at UBC. So it's about $700 to $800 per work term that you're on. So that's a 4-month period. But you're still getting paid on top of that. And typically our students get paid quite well. The average monthly salary can range from about $3,500 to $5,000 per month. And again, you're working for 4 months at a time minimum usually. You can also see a list here of some of the popular employers for each of our programs. This can change year to year and is by no means a complete listing, but you may recognize some companies that you're interested in working with are on here as some of our major employers. We often have students go and work for top companies like Apple and Google, Microsoft, and things like that. But here's just a list of some other companies that you may not have thought of. So co-op is really great opportunity, open to international students as well. You would apply into co-op at the start of your 2nd or 3rd year. So a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today, you're coming into that first foundational year. You don't need to make a lot of decisions just yet. You have time to explore a little bit more while you're at UBC before you make any of those decisions of if you're going to join co-op or what program you're going to go into, which is what we're going to talk about next, how to actually choose your discipline. So the Vancouver campus offers 14 engineering disciplines. You'll start in the foundational 1st year and you'll go through a 2nd year placement process at the end of your 1st year. The 1st year has about 1,000 students in it in total, and each program will have from about 25 up to about 200 students per year, depending on the program. The majority of our programs are going to have around 60 to 100 students per year level. So if you're entering year 1, you'll be supported through the 2nd year placement process in your AppSci 100 and AppSci 101 course. Ways to ensure that you receive your placement of choice are to keep your grades up in 1st year and get involved in related activities like design teams, hackathons, or anything else. For those joining us today that may be entering year 2, maybe you're transferring into year 2, you'll get more information about submitting your preference form this spring. And please note that the deadline to submit that is typically May 15th. So keep an eye on your email for that. You'll also receive a note about that in your offer letter. All right, so Janvi, tell us a little bit more about how you chose your discipline.
So for my 1st year, I had the foundational 1st year, and I was kind of confused on what, as everyone else, a little bit on what I want to do in my 2nd year. What should I choose? So I think in my 1st year, it was really helpful to explore and learn about different projects in AppSci 101 and AppSci 100. So I think I chose civil engineering because I love working with designing structures and just it's a really creative field, but I'm really happy that I chose civil engineering. Yeah.
Awesome. And may I tell us a little bit more about your program and what made you choose it?
Yeah, so I'm in integrated engineering. It's a multidisciplinary program where you do a little bit of everything. So you take courses from all traditional engineering disciplines, which is whatever you see there. There's not integrated engineering. and you basically procrastinate choosing what exactly you want to do, which is really good, because a lot of people don't really understand what they want to get into in second year, and this gives them a little more time to explore their options, see what different niche areas are there, and then really find out and pick and choose courses that relate to what exactly you want to get into. So for instance, I am looking at thermal systems, basically working with heat, and I'm looking at aerospace materials. So I'm going to take courses that give me a background in that area. So I'll take courses in mechanical engineering and in material engineering. And while I'm taking all these courses every year in integrated engineering, unlike every other program, you work on a capstone project, a year-long project that is due at the end of the year and is displayed at a big sort of showcase. And yeah, you get a little funding for it, and you get to choose your projects, and you work in teams. It's a lot of fun. It really depends on how much effort you put into it. So people spend like copious amounts of time on there, and really make a good product out of it. So integrated engineering is about that. How much ever you put in.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so just to wrap up this presentation, I want to mention a few resources to be aware of. So, of course, I've already mentioned this, but keep an eye out for any of those emails coming from UBC. You'll receive emails about kind of upcoming deadlines that you need to meet, about your admission status. You can also always check the SSC. But you're also going to get emails from UBC Engineering as well. So you should have gotten an email inviting you to this event today. So that's where we'll be sharing important information, letting you know about upcoming events and things like that. So keep an eye out on your email. That's really the best way that UBC communicates with you. Right now, there are a few ways to kind of learn more about our programs. You can connect with a current student to receive mentorship by using our ambassador platforms. If you use on the chat with the student function on our website, both Mayank and Janvi are part of our ambassador team, as are about 20 other students that you can connect with to chat with them online and ask them questions that you have. We're also going to start hosting every few weeks online sessions about the student experience. So the next sessions coming up in March are going to be about co-op and finding your community. There's also going to be more events similar to this coming up way into April. You'll see a listing of all of our events on the events website though. So we have lots of events to really get you familiar with UBC, and then kind of a ways off. But if you're admitted in about June or so, you'll get to join the Welcome to UBC Engineering program, which will let you connect with other current students, other incoming students, so you can make friends and get to know more about your program before you even start on campus. So once you join UBC Engineering, you'll also have access to so many amazing things. We have a lot of free tutoring offered through the Engineering Undergraduate Society, through AMS. There's the Math Learning Center available to students to access. We have a lot of wellness opportunities. So we have student-run groups like NGU, part of Engineers Without Borders, that offer peer wellness. There's UBC Recreation, which has single-day events or intramurals that you can get involved in consistently. We have advising. In our first year's office would go to Engineering Academic Services. And then once you get into your program, you'll have program advisors specific to your program that you're in. For financial resources, sometime in May, you'll get connected with your enrollment services advisor, which is really there to answer any of your sort of financial questions. Scholarships and awards are going out now throughout the spring. Most of those will be awarded by about mid-April or so, usually is the kind of deadline for that. We try to get most of them out as soon as possible. And as I mentioned, there are external awards out there to apply for. We'll try and mention as many that we know of in those emails that you get from UBC Engineering. So keep an eye on that, because there may be scholarships in there that you're able to apply for. So no matter what your interests are, there are so many things to look forward to at UBC Engineering, and we're so happy to welcome you to the community. So thank you for joining us throughout this presentation. We have a few questions that were submitted in advance that I'll ask to our panelists, and then we'll go ahead and jump into our breakout rooms in a few minutes. So there's a few additional resources on here. You should have access to all of these, but I want to specifically highlight one of them. That is our engineering stories team. So both Loveline and Janvi are involved in our engineering stories team. And that team posts videos about student life in engineering. There are videos on YouTube. There are videos on TikTok. There are videos on Instagram. So however you like to watch videos, go and check out our channels because there's lots of information about what it's like to be a current student. You all should have my email, which you would have received several times of applying for this event, but it's on the screen as well in case you ever need to send me an email with any of your questions. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this presentation. We have just a few questions to ask our panelists today before we jump into those breakout rooms. So Loveline, what were your first impressions of UBC as an international student?
So I think as an international student, UBC was like literally my dream university. And I think a lot of it had to do with just like its beautiful campus and its like really involved community. And I remember like spending hours and days just scrolling through videos about like UBC and like room tours and like dorm room tours and everything. And I feel like there's just so much to do on campus. There's like a beautiful rose garden, there's the beach, there's so many clubs that you can get involved in, there's so many design teams that you can be a part of. And I just remember hearing so much about how inclusive the community here at UBC Engineering was. And I think that is what really caught my eye as an international student.
Awesome. Mayank, what is your daily life like as an engineering student? So maybe you could elaborate on how much time you spend in class on a weekly basis. How do you maintain the balance of everything that you have going on? What does that look like for you?
Okay, so this okay, I need to actually think about how many hours I spend in classes and outside. I'm the Vice President of Academic Affairs for the Engineering Undergraduate Society, or the EUS, which means I organize all the advocacy and represent all the 5,500 plus students to engineering students to the faculty. Things that I work on include any big issues that you guys are having, like moving from online to in-person classes, accommodations for students, all of those issues come to me. So I spend way too much time there. And Erin mentioned tutoring services. That's also under my portfolio. So I organize tutoring services for first years. So we get a lot of pizza and we book rooms, and we have upper years helping you learn the material in your courses. There's also other professional development events that happen. But outside of that, that's where I spend my most time. I go into the engineering student center in the morning, and then I come at night to sleep in my room and then head back right there in the morning again the next day. And in the middle, I go to classes, do my homework. But that's usually what my day looks like. Yeah, a lot of fun. Stop by the engineering student center if you're ever here, and find anybody with this red jacket. They'll show you around. A lot of fun.
Awesome. And last thing, Janvi, tell us a little bit more about kind of what stood out about UBC Engineering to you.
I think for me, UBC, before coming as an international student, I wasn't sure about a lot of schools here in Canada. But as Loveline mentioned, the beautiful campus, that was the first point. But then after I got here, I actually realized that this place is so much more than that. There are so many opportunities to work with. You can work with the professors, you can work with the recruitment office, as I work with engineering stories. And there are people, so many people, and it's a very diverse community and a very supportive community to be at. I think what stood out to me the most, and I absolutely love being at UBC.
A huge thank you to all of our amazing volunteers who were in attendance today. Several of them are part of our ambassador team, so that you can chat more with them after today if you didn't get all of your questions about the student experience answered. It's our Ask a Question link on the engineering website, and you can start a chat with many of our different ambassadors that have been involved in tons of different design teams. Many have been involved in co-op, many are in all of our different programs that we have. So any more questions about the student experience, you can continue to ask them. Again, anything related to advising, please be sure to ask myself, as our students are not trained to answer any questions on advising. But huge thank you to all of our volunteers for getting up early, being here with me today. We really appreciate it. And of course, a huge thank you to all of you for joining today. We're so glad that you applied to UBC Engineering. So thank you everyone so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day. And we hope to see you at UBC soon.